Have you been thinking about getting into Forex trading? Forex trading opens up a world of opportunity for those who know how to do it properly. You can experience financial freedom and reap tremendous rewards for your trading skills. Unfortunately, many programs make big promises and throw students into the trading market without the proper knowledge and expertise to succeed. Fortunately, there is a solution. Great White FX Academy is the best place to start your Forex trading journey with the tools, resources, and education necessary to help you thrive in the market. Great White FX is an online Forex training platform that provides technical training that will help you succeed. It is of the utmost importance to have a proper qualitative education to participate in Forex trading, and that is exactly what Great White FX focuses on. You can reach us on Facebook at Great White FX and Forex Educational Academy, on Instagram at Great White FX, on Twitter at Great White FX, or call us at 234-803-930-61888.
Hello, good morning, and you're welcome to this week's review. This week's Forex outlook with Great White FX for the 24th to 28th of August 2020. So without taking so much of the time, these are the pairs we'll be looking at: the dollar index, gold, EURUSD, GBPUSD, EURGBP, British Pound CHF, Aussie Dollar, New Zealand U.S Dollar, USD, Yen, Euro Yen, Pound Yen, and USDCHF. So let's get down to the pairs that we're going to be looking at today. So first and foremost, we're going to start with the calendar. We don't have much activities throughout the week. Most of the news are medium impact. We only have high impact on Thursday. That's the Fed Chairman Powell is going to be speaking. Then 4:15, the Canadian Bank of Canada Governor is going to be speaking. Then I don't know what this is. But then on Friday, the Bank of England Governor is going to be speaking at 2:05 p.m. That's West African time. Then we still have this symposium throughout the whole day. So it's a light week on the fundamentals coming into the new week. So without taking so much of your time, let's get down to business and see what the pairs are looking at for the week. So let me hide all this. So we're going to first start from the weekly. Looking at the dollar index from the weekly point of view, we could see that the dollar index still spiked below this prior to lows and closed the week as an inverted hammer formation. Sorry about that. Closed the week as an inverted hammer formation. So that is a bullish sign. As you can see, price closed back into the body of this prior candle. So this long wick is a long rejection. So looking at it on the daily point of view, you could see that price, I was saying price broke these lows and then closed back inside that range. So we might be looking at the possible false break to the downside here. So how are you going to trade this? So you go down into our 4-hour time frame, you put in our levels. So when you put in your levels, ready, this is last week's high, this is last week's low. So on only that weekly range, you put in your fib level and then you wait for price to pull back. As you can see, price made a rally, a correction. So if it makes a correction here and moves higher, then we might be looking at either 93.91, 93.99, or probably a higher level. Probably price may be coming up to this zone here, to this structure level here. So let me move that out. So we're going to be noting going to be watching that to see what price does. So there's a possibility we might see a bit of a correction and the move higher. But on this pair for now, we have a tilt to the upside, giving this false break to the downside and the move close back inside the range. So that means that we might be seeing higher prices on this pair. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is gold. So looking at gold, let's start from the weekly to get an idea of how the weekly candle closed on gold. So, well, the weekly candle, we still have a weekly bearish engulfing on gold. As you can see, price has pulled back into that level and got rejected. But it closed as a doji. So, what are we going to do on our intraday? Looking at our intraday, there is a possibility that we might see a bit of a correction before we move lower. But for now, we might be looking at a bearish move lower on gold, because as I said last week, this is the bullish correction and the move down may continue. So how do we treat this on our intraday time frame? You ready? This is your previous week's low high, that's coming at 2015.72. This is your previous week's low coming at 1911.58. So there is this high of Friday, and you know the Friday's low also constituted the low of the week. So the situation now is, should price move above this Friday's high, then we might see a correction up towards this level. But should price move back below last week's low, what you need to wait for is something like this, then you move lower. That's what you need to, that's what you'll be expecting on gold. So you need to see it break, retest that structure that it has broken, get rejected, then you have a move lower on gold. So that is it for gold. The next pair we're going to be looking at is EURUSD. So looking at the EURUSD, if we look at the EURUSD, we have this high here, as you can see. You see price broke above it severally, but has not been able to maintain a close above it strongly. So as you can see, this is a bearish signal. So how do we look? That's from the weekly. Let's look at this from the daily. So looking at this from the daily point of view, we might be looking at a temporary top on this pair. As you can see, it's making new highs, but it's not sustaining it. We have a bearish engulfing here that is still active. So on my view, we might be looking at a temporary top at 1962. So knowing that, how do we treat this pair? You put in your levels, and you put in your levels. It's very simple. This is last week's low. You could decide on only the weekly range, pull your flip, because you're expecting price to move down, to move a little bit lower. So should price correct a little bit higher, like into the 50% range, as you can see, there's structure lining up there. So that might be a strong magnet for price, and if price gets rejected there, then we might be looking at a move lower. So what you do, place an alert there and wait to see if price will get up to any of those levels on the EURUSD. So for now, there is a possibility that price may move lower as we have a temporary top at this location. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the British Pound USD. So looking at the British Pound USD, if we look at it from the weekly closed with a bearish rejection candle. It's a long upper wick. It's what you call an inverted pin bar. Called an inverted pin bar, as you can see. There is a monthly range candle on this pair. Yes, this is a monthly range candle. If you notice, this candle, this single candle here, that's for the March candle. 1, 2, 3, 4 has held price within its range for 4 good months. So price broke above it. That's what you have at this location. Price broke above it here and then closed back inside that range. So how are you going to trade this? You put in your values. When you put in your values, you go down to a lower time frame. So on this lower time frame, as you can see, break to the top side, failed high. So there is a possibility that there might be a correction to the upside. So what do? You place your fib from the high to the low of the weekly candle, then you wait to see if how high price will correct before moving lower. At GBPUSD, we have a temporary top in place at 1.3267. So should price take out, pull up and start dropping, should it correct higher, get rejected and start moving lower, your first level of support is going to be 1.3047. Then your next level is 1.3005. Should this weekly low here get taken out, then there is a possibility that price will move lower on the GBPUSD. So there is a possibility we might see a bit of a correction, possibly towards the weekly 50% that comes in here, not here, or a retest of that monthly range. That monthly range is coming at 1.3200 and it's a psychological level again. So there might be a retest of that area and move lower. So that is what we have on the GBPUSD. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the EURGBP, the British Pound, the Euro British Pound. So looking at this pair from the weekly, price spiked down. I'm of the view that this pair is bearish. So looking at this pair, I'm of the opinion this pair is more like in a range, but you just need to be aware of where the range top is and where the range bottom is. It's not looking very, very neat for now. So because if you look at it on the daily, if you look at it from the daily point of view, you will see that price moved below this low here at 89.63, at 89.69 and closed back inside that level. So it's more like a range. So you need to know where your basic levels of support are and then watch closely at those levels. So for this pair this week, what are we going to be expecting on this pair? We'll pull back our levels. So there is a possibility, this is Friday's high, that price may pull back. So what would you do? You have two options on this pair. You can either pick the high to the weekly low, or from the low of Friday's low was the low for the week, to the high. Then you wait for price. Should price pull back and start moving higher, then you can take a long position. But for me, this pair is still in a range, and pairs that are in consolidations are a little bit tricky to trade at times. So there's a possibility this pair may pull back. Should it pull back and start moving higher, then you can take a long position on this pair. As you can see, we already have structure here. So there's a possibility price may come back. And if you look at that structure, it almost rhymes with Friday's 62% area. So you could put in your reminder there and wait to see what happens should price get down to that level, or the 50% range of Friday's price activity. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the British Pound CHF. So looking at the British Pound CHF, if we look at it from the weekly point of view, wicks to the top side show a reluctancy to move higher on this pair. As you can see, it has been closing with wicks to the long side, to the upside on the weekly candle. So if you go down to the daily, like the Euro Pound, this pair is more like in a range. So you just need to know where the range high is, and you can see we have structure here on the daily. If you switch to your line chart, it's very visible. So this structure here has what has been halting price. As you can see, that's what has been halting price. So on this pair, there is a possibility we might see a move lower on this pair into the new week. So how are you going to do that? You pick up your levels. This is Friday's low. So there is a possibility we might see a bit of a correction before a move lower. So that's just it for this pair. This pair is more like in a consolidation. There's no clear move yet on this pair. So you need to just wait for price at the extreme zones. Don't try to take the trades within the ranges, as it might not go so well. So for this pair, it's in a consolidation. These are the levels you need to note out and mark them on your chart and wait for price action at those levels. The next pair we're going to look at is the AUDUSD. So looking at this pair, as you can see, wicks to the top side, showing a lack of momentum to continue higher on this pair. As you can see, wicks at the top side. So if we go down to the daily, you can see we have what looks like a higher leg end formation. It's a bearish engulfing, back to back. So on this pair, there is a possibility it may drop lower. But what will confirm the bearish bias on this pair will be a break of 0.7065. Once 0.7065, as you can see, it was a high here. That was June, I think a high around June. That's the 10th of June high as a daily high. As you can see, price has been testing it. So once price goes back below this level, then the bias will fully shift from bullish to a complete bearish scenario. So how are you going to trade this pair? You drop down to your intraday levels. We already have our levels marked up here. So there is a possibility on this pair that we might see a bit of a correction. As you can see, we might see a bit of a correction. If you switch to your line chart, you're going to see the structure here. So on this pair, there might be a bit of a correction before the move lower. So what are you going to do? From the high of last week to the low of last week, you place your fib, then you wait for price pull back into any of those levels to give you a bearish scenario. Then you take price lower, and if you should take price lower, if you should take a short position, you could use the fib levels for your first TP, as your first TP will be coming in at this level, that's 0.7097. Second one, this swing low at 0.7076. So should this level give way, then there is a possibility that the AUDUSD is moving lower. But you need to take note of this structure here between 70.34 to 70.24. So for now, we might be looking at a temporary top at 0.7275 on the AUDUSD. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the EURUSD Dollar. So looking at the EURUSD Dollar, this pair has been in a range. It hasn't had any clear level, any clear formation yet. So let's look at it from the weekly. If you look at it from the weekly, as you can see, but it's tilting to move to the upside, but it's not yet having traction. If you look at this pair, there is a master candle here, or what you call a range candle. This candle, that's the 1st of June candle, has acted as a range for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that is the range price is between the high is 0.6707 and the low is 1.6034. So that's the range you have on this pair. So how are you going to trade this? You drop down to your lower time frame, because all my levels from the higher time frame are on my 1 hour chart. So you pull it in and you pull it in. So this is just basically what you have. This is the range of this last week's high, that's weekly high, this is weekly low. So you wait for either a break to the top side or a break to the downside. So but for now, this pair is in a range, so you need to trade it accordingly. The next pair we're going to be looking at is the New Zealand U.S. Dollar. So looking at the New Zealand U.S. Dollar, we're going to look at this from first the weekly. We have a long upper wick, which is a bearish rejection formation. This pair still has a little bit of tilt to the upside, but we are looking, there's already a temporary top at 67.50, so we might see a correction. How low are we going to see the correction? We can't see. If you look at it on the daily time frame, the range of Friday was not encouraging. This is just the range of Friday, not much of an encouragement. So yeah, this structure here as you can see, price bounced off it on Thursday, creating this little range on Friday. So for this pair, how are you going to trade it? If you put in your levels, there is a possibility it might correct higher. You move above 65.49, might send it into this structure. So if it gets rejected from there, you might take a short position. Below previous week's low at 64.88, we see price go down to 64.40. So that is it for this pair. So, and there is noteworthy, there is equal low on this pair here. So price most likely, should it keep driving down, this would be the obvious target of price 63.81. So that is it for this pair. The next pair we're going to look at is the USDJPY. So looking at the USDJPY, we're going to remove our label so that we can clearly see it. Well, we have what looks like a bearish engulfing candle as the weekly close, but if you observe clearly, there is a long wick to the downside, which shows you that although this candle has a bearish close, the underlying tone is bullish. The underlying tone is bullish. So price may still push to the upside. If you move into your daily time frame, you could see this bullish push or correction, a bullish push and a deep correction. So there is a possibility that this pair might be heading to the upside. If you remember last week, I said when it rallied up, I said it is looking bullish, but where it is not a place where you want to take a long position, and price corrected. So how are we going to trade this? It's very simple. If you look at price on the 4-hour, when price corrected, it came down into this structure point here. Then it rallied. And when it rallied, it came in to test this structure here. So now, how are you going to trade this pair? The best thing on this pair is to wait for a pullback. If it gives you a pullback and gives you bullish evidence, then this might obviously be its target here, between 106.46 to 106.65. So that's it for the US dollar yen. The next one we're going to be looking at is euro yen. So looking at the euro yen also, well, this is not a good signal for a pair on its weekly time frame. This is a bearish railway track. This is a bearish railway track on the euro yen weekly. This is a bearish formation, which we might confirm that we might be looking at a little bit of a deeper correction. But that deeper correction is going to be based off something here. This level 123.34 has to give way for any solid bearish evidence on this pair to take place. So on this pair, there is a possibility it may correct higher. So what do? You pick your fib from the weekly high to the weekly low. That's just it. So you just wait for it to correct to any of these levels. If it gives you a bearish evidence, then you continue with price to the downside. So that's it for that pair. The next pair we're going to be looking at is Euro British Pound. That's GBPN. So looking at this pair, if we look at it on the weekly, we have a dark cloud formation on the weekly. We have this high here. That high is at 139.78. You see price spiked above it and closed back inside it. That's on the weekly. If you go down to the daily, you have a bearish engulfing there. A very, very strong bearish engulfing. So, but the deal is that it still has some little structure here to take out. So, how are you going to trade this? Drop down to your intraday time frame, put in your level. So, there is a possibility that there's going to be a little bit of correction to the upside. So, should you see that, this will be your top structure level here. So, that's just it for this pair. Let me see if I put in the previous week's high. Sorry, let me put in the previous week's value. There's a weekly time frame. Sorry. previous week's high comes in at 139.94. So you have the option of using your fib from the high to the low, then you wait for a correction and move lower. That means you'll be looking to sell into the rallies on this pair. So the last pair we're going to be looking at is the USDCHF. So looking at the USDCHF, this pair is still in a downtrend, but there is a possibility that we might see a temporary low at 0.9010. We might be seeing a temporary low there. As you can see, price took out 90.49, spiked below it and closed back inside the range. So, and if you look at it from the daily point of view, we have a bullish engulfing. Price came down slightly to test this structure here, as you can see. So there is a possibility we might be looking at a bullish correction for the time being. So how are you going to trade this pair? Put in your values. So you'll be looking at a correction. You'll be looking to buy dips on this pair. As long as price stays above this previous week's low, there is a possibility it's going to move higher. But once it takes out this previous week's low, then we have the continuation of the preceding trend, which is still bearish. So that is it for today. So if you've enjoyed this lecture, this video will be posted to the various groups, and I might also post it on YouTube. So if you've enjoyed our class, these are my social media handles. This is our YouTube, Facebook pages. This is my Twitter handle, this is my Instagram handle, and this is my Telegram handle. I have a free Telegram class where I post most of these videos. Is accessible from the Instagram page. So you could follow us on Instagram. We also do postings on Instagram. This is my Telegram. You could send a message here. This is my WhatsApp line. And most of my videos are posted on my YouTube channel. Plan your trade, trade your plan. So if you go to the YouTube page, please like and click the notification buttons to get updates whenever videos are posted. So I thank you all for taking your time to attend. I wish you all a blessed and beautiful trading week ahead. Thank you for attending.